Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior. Tom Dutta like butter. Bet you're probably saying, where's that Tom Dutta guy? Hey, we got multiple cameras in the studio here. I want to just first of all start off by saying it's going to be an awesome ride today, everybody. And we are on the west coast of British Columbia in a heat wave. Oh, man, I've got probably 90 degrees in the studio here. See, my glasses are even kind of going sideways on me from the heat. But we got a guest on, and he's in the green room. But first of all, I want to start off by sharing something I'm very excited about. And we've been doing this because of my new book that has been published. Now I'm going to show you the front cover here. We're going to try and get that in the shot. It's called The Quiet Warrior Teaches Genie Easy Brain Skills to Create Happiness, featuring real stories of compassion and happy, helpful hacks. Well, that's a lot of words, but this is an anthology book. It's fully illustrated. What's awesome about it is my co-author, Donna J. Setterland, is a chief illustration officer of joining my company. She also has been writing and illustrating books for, probably 40 years. She's a Disney classic illustrator. So the way we've done up the book, everybody, is we've actually created 12 different storylines with the contributing authors, and then in between that, we've put brain hacks, things you can do to actually trigger the brain to be happier, be healthier. And this is all part of my mission after I did my TED Talk in 2020 to lift the stigma of mental illness. So I'm going to read you a first little ditty here. This is actually one of our contributors, and try to get her face there. That's Brittany Bexton. Now, Brittany's out of Nashville. She is a fellow author, but she's also a recording artist, and she's amazing. She's an actor as well. And I'm creating a film right now for my other book, and she's going to be playing a role in it. I'm just going to read you a quick part of her beginning here. It says, Brittany, learning to believe again is actually the story she wrote. I grew up in a home that looked perfect from the outside, a middle-class family headed by two parents, and who were both well-spoken, intelligent, kind, and professionally successful with 3 kids. My mom worked in the school system, a pillar in our community. Underneath the perfect facade, layers and layers of unresolved trauma led to massive tension, many unhealthy and painful patterns that affected all of us. Both of my parents have been through severe abuse and trauma in their own childhoods. Never having dealt with their trauma, they constantly triggered each other. No one talked about feelings in any healthy way. I learned at a very young age that feelings weren't acceptable unless you were positive emotions of achievement. If I was angry and expressed it, it was belittled. If I was sad, expressed it, I was shunned. And if I were throwing a fit, when I was scared or being beat up and asked for help, I was either ignored or screamed and told to shut up. I know they loved me in the best way they were capable of, but they were both caught up in their own trauma. I learned that if I shared my real and deeper feelings, I'd be punished. So I learned to wear a happy face mask and put on the achievement show that everyone wanted. And you can really see here how great Dawn has done the illustration. It's a picture of Brittany when she's younger, and there's that mask. Now, that's just the harsh-hitting beginning of the story, but then we flip to the positive side. She says, on the other side, I was a high achiever, but on the inside, I was a mess. Music, writing, acting were my escapes. And so she went on to talk about how she took a chance, and she basically went on the road. And today, she's a performing artist. She's released albums. She lives in Nashville. And she's just a delight. She's authored a book that's doing really well, has her own podcast. And so what we're doing here in the book, and I'll just tell you the last page, everyone, is we come to the end of the story, and it's delightful. You can see her on stage performing. And then on this side of the book here where I'm pointing, we've got her happy, helpful hacks. So we asked all the contributors, what did you do to hack through this challenging time in your life? And actually, here's what she said. Brittany's happy, helpful hacks. Go on a gentle walk. Go out in nature. Come up with your safe place. Journal, write, sing, create. Turn on some happy music and dance. Find some safe friends. Pray and worship. So there you have it. That's The Quiet Warrior Teaches Genie. And one more plug. Donna is actually now through my own publishing company, Create Publishing. Donna and I are releasing up to 48 of her books that she has created over a lifetime. And this is actually the first book which talks about the book series. We have so much more that we're working on, but really excited. So I thank Kyle, who's in the green room, for letting me babble on and blather on about my stuff. This will not be part of the final production, but it really excited everybody. Get the book. You'll find it where books are online on Amazon, and we'll be doing a lot more media about the parts of that book with the contributors. All right, so having said that, now I'm going to come back to the real reason we're here. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring to the screen Mr. Kyle Murtagh. Kyle, welcome to, well, there's a little blip. Welcome to the show, Kyle. I tripped myself up there.
That's okay. Thanks so much, Tom, for having me back on. Those books look fantastic. Lots of pictures for the visual learners amongst us in there.
Yeah, and boy, I'll tell you, talk about a segue. You are a visual guy. So everybody, a little bit about Kyle. He is returning to the show. He is being inducted a while ago as a fellow Quiet Warrior. Kyle, you're over there in, well, you tell us, because some of us British Columbians can't see the map. You're in somewhere.
Yeah, I'm based in Scotland, everyone. Today, a place called Aberdeen, which is in the northeast of Scotland. It's my hometown, actually. So very much looking forward to being here and talking with Tom all the way over in Vancouver. Isn't it amazing that we can both be together in this moment?
Yeah, you know, the power of that. So everyone, Scotland. I mean, one of my dreams, Kyle, and I always think about this. My dad passed away at 18, and he was an avid golfer. And I grew up as a kid. He used wooden clubs to learn to play. You know, Arnold Palmer was one of my dad's, idols, and people like Jack Nicklaus. So here we are on a course. It would have been a good comedy routine for you to do. And my dad's teaching me with wooden clubs, and I won't tell you the rest, but I always had a dream of going to Scotland and playing the links, because that is where I believe the game originated.
A place called St Andrews, to be specific, is where the game originated. There's an old course there. I think it's the oldest golf course in the world. And you can go and pay a huge amount of money to play there and be in the clubhouse and rub shoulders with all the other golfing fanatics in the world if you so choose to.
Isn't that amazing? And here I am, and it's my dream, my honor to. I've never thought I'd be sitting here talking to a world champion of speaking who's right there. So now I know I have a place to stay. So you better not move. I know you'd love to come here. Sidebar, because we tell stories. I don't know if you've ever heard Robin Williams' little ditty about golf.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, not in a while though, but I remember it being hilarious. That's the overall emotion I remember. Yeah,
totally hilarious. There's another great who we lost too early, but talk about a storyteller.
Real true. Well, he was terrific at stand-up storytelling. In fact, if we go look at the world of stand-up, the majority of them are very good storytellers. I think it's difficult to be humorous without having that storytelling skill as well. Billy Connolly, another one. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Tom.
Yeah,
great
I am.
Scottish comedian, very animated, phenomenal storyteller. So it just shows you how important that skill is.
Exactly. Hey, Kyle, everybody, I do the bio usually at the beginning, but Kyle is a world champion speaker. I think what did they call you? Scotland's. Tell me what they call you now.
Well, I'm not a world champion speaker yet. I will say that I've won a European championship in.
There you go.
Speaking. I like to think of myself as Scotland's most exciting public speaker. I don't think many would argue with that. So yeah, I'm certainly making waves. I like to think.
That's awesome. Here. And we'll have your full bio in the show at the end of the show notes with the link. You've also created this cool company this cool thing called Confidence by Design. Tell us a couple things about that.
Yeah, that's my company, and the whole idea behind it is to help people create their confidence by design through public speaking, through learning the art of standing up with confidence and delivering a compelling message. Because I truly believe if you can do that specific skill, all other forms of communication become easier for you as well, whether that be going for an interview, going on a date, and talking to your boss about that raise, whatever it may be, all other conversations become easier when you can speak with confidence to a group.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And you and I also connected through Toastmasters International, which many people don't realize is almost 100-year-old brand. And people think that it's just public speaking, but it's actually the tagline is where leaders are made. And so in those programs, everybody you belong to this, it's almost like your own little speaking board or club, and you prepare speeches. But in the room, you get feedback from people like Kyle, but not the kind of feedback you expect. It's positive, and then Tom, here's improvement, but you get a lot of support and encouragement. So we met through that. You've done a lot of work through Toastmasters too, right?
Yeah, it's a fantastic organization, and it's helped me tremendously in my speaking journey, get my confidence to begin with, you know. And so it's a tremendous place, a safe environment where you can go along, practice with like-minded people, and get feedback, which is so critical to your development. It's very hard to get good at speaking on your own,
Yeah.
because ultimately it's the audience reaction which determines how effective your presentation has been. So
Very
you
cool.
need that feedback in order to grow, for sure.
And that's awesome. And so I've been following Kyle, everybody. And I mean, last time you came on the show and I put it in my intro notes, I said, so what's next? And you said, well, you know, you're really working hard to be that world champion. And so you're getting
Yeah.
closer to that. I saw a plaque you were holding the other day, which has got my interest. Tell us what happened with that. It's some accreditation or something you just received.
Yeah. So I'm taking part in the international speech contest this year. It's also known as the World Championship of Public Speaking.
Okay.
And that plaque that you saw was for the Scotland round. I won the speech contest for the whole of Scotland. And now next week, I'll be competing in the UK and Ireland finals. And then after that, it goes to the kind of quarterfinals, the European round, and then it goes to the world finals. So the journey is underway, as they say, Tom.
Yeah, you're very humble, and again, it's easy for me to say about your wins, but let's go back to the backstory. I mean, when we first had you on, everybody, we inducted you, Kyle, because he told his true story about being shy, and there was some bit of maltreatment in your early years. Tell us just the biggest, looking back now, when you look at that, what's the biggest pride you have, the biggest feeling of personal growth you have from just that when you look now at what you're doing?
I think it's definitely finding my voice, because I was literally the opposite of who I am today. I was a very shy, timid young man. And people would say to me, Kyle, do you even speak? It was that bad, you know?
Wow.
And it wasn't because I didn't have anything to say. I actually had a lot I wanted to say. I just didn't have the confidence to say it. And it's been a good decade process for me to really gain that confidence, to the point where I now feel I can speak to anyone, anytime, anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the size of the audience. I'm happy to take on all of the pressure, all of the eyes looking at me, and share my message. I'm happy to do that with lots of prep or zero prep. And that has taken, like I say, over a decade to get to that point. But I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of that. And I like to share that about me. And it's hard for people to believe that I was that shy person, but I was, because I hope it helps them see that no matter where you start from, you can become a confident speaker.
Yeah.
If you're willing to put in the work and practice and learn the skills and really just immerse yourself in this art, which is public speaking.
Yeah, immerse. I love that word. I'm thinking of the Loch Ness now, and the lake and the Munster, and going underneath and immersing myself. All sorts of things going on in my head. I'm thinking about the Bible and getting baptized, and I don't know what you just did to me. But this is one of the things
I'm glad you're on a mental journey there from Monster to the baby Jesus. I like it.
Well, this is one of the gifts today. We're going to actually, everybody, we're going to be doing a few Q&As as well. We've got some questions that came in, but I think it's one of the skills and gifts I like about you is the storytelling evokes feelings and emotions in my brain.
Yeah.
I want to just put something else up here on the screen. You have a book that you've published. I know we blocked you for a minute. The 5 Pillars of Effective Public Speaking. Just give us a quick Cole's notes or a quick summary of what is that book about?
Yeah, that book is the fundamentals, in my opinion, of great public speaking. So it goes through the 5 key fundamentals. I'll go through them now just quickly.
Sure.
The first one being body language, how you use your nonverbal communication, your expression, your gestures, your eye contact, all of that good stuff. The second one being your voice, how you use your voice to hold your audience's attention from your first word to your very last.
Yeah.
Third is something which is highly underrated, but is often missing in most presentations, and that's structure. How to actually put your ideas together in a coherent way so that a clear message is delivered to the audience. And kind of moving into that more so, the fourth pillar is clarity, like how you can actually guarantee you avoid jargon, you avoid confusing the audience so that they do take on board exactly what you're saying. And fifth and final is impact, how you can actually leave a lasting impression which inspires action. That's how I define impact. The book talks you through how to do that when delivering a presentation. So I brought it out quite a couple of years ago now, Tom, but it's been great to see how it's had such an impact, not just here in Scotland, but worldwide. You know, I get sometimes messages from people in India, Australia, the States, Canada as well, how much they've benefit from the book, which is really nice, because this is not like a book which directs you to a course. This is simply just a book which had all of my knowledge about public speaking up until that point in those pages. There's just value in it. That's all it is.
I think that's what makes the book. By the way, I had Kyle on before, as I mentioned, and I did read the book, and I did a 5-star review, and that's available online. I'm just going to put it up again there. You don't have the book with you. I know you're traveling it at a family's place.
I might have it nearby. If you
don't
give
worry.
me 10 seconds, I can go get it.
You go get if you want to go get it. I'm just going to put some on the screen here.
Okay.
Just give me a shout when you're back. Hey, everybody. So if you see there, we're with Kyle Murtagh, who's the author of the book, 5 Pillars of Effective Public Speaking. I mean, this guy, I think he's back there. Kyle, just hold it up. We're going to full screen you there.
All right. A picture of the book there.
Beautiful.
So you can get it in paperback copy, as you can see here, or you can get it as an audiobook, which I would highly recommend, because with it being a public speaking book, it's quite good to hear the different vocal techniques, for example. And I recorded the full audio, or you can get it as an ebook if you prefer to read that way. So it's available on Amazon in all different ways.
All right, awesome. Thanks for showing us the books, everybody. We're with Kyle Murtagh. Confidence by Design is his platform, the 5 Pillars of Public Speaking. I did listen to the audiobook, and that is an absolutely wonderful point as from a fellow author to you, everybody teaching moment. You've got to listen to that because you get his voice. And that in itself is enough to teach you in a very, very different way, audibly. So fantastic. Now, before we get into the first question that's coming for you, I'm going to take a right turn here and have some fun with you. So we're going to put a little video up here, and we're going to play this video.
Okay.
We're going to play for a couple minutes. I just want you to be you as you're watching it. Give me a thumbs up if the sound's okay. Here we go.
Let's be honest with each other. Who here has ever wanted to strangle a family member? Let me see the hands.
Okay, my hand's gone up.
I love that Mum's hand went straight up.
So maybe pause it for a second there.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me get to the pause button.
Well, this is actually maybe a good thing I can point out to people in terms of public speaking. Before, in the show, one of the speakers identified that there was a mum there in the crowd with her 7-year-old and 8-year-old sons.
Oh,
and that's a weird thing for a stand-up comedy environment, you know? I sort of played on that by saying Mum's hand went straight up.
Yeah.
And that's something you can use. If you notice someone in the crowd, you can make it almost a very in the moment experience for the audience by pointing people out and using that information.
That's
so
very
improv
cool.
can be helpful.
Yeah, let's go back in and just play a little bit more of this.
I've never had a greater urge to murder, strangle, I should say, maybe murder as well, my father, than on my 21st birthday. It was a boiling hot day in Glasgow. Everyone was sweating like Prince Andrew in a courtroom. My whole family had come to town to celebrate my birthday, and we were all sitting around this big table, but only one voice could be heard. My dad's. Now, my dad, he's one of these really annoying, loud, animated guys, but definitely not like me. At one point, he said,
I'll pause it for a second again. Yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
What I thought was very important when I was up there is when you do get laughter, you've got to give time for the laughter to finish.
I see.
What often happens is there's a temptation to just keep going on to the next part of your content. But when you do that to an audience, when you stand on their laughter, you actually encourage them to laugh less later on. So I think it's whenever you're doing something like this, or you're trying to do a bit of humor, leave space for it is the tip I'm sort of giving there.
Yeah, no, it's great. Everybody, teaching moment. If you're listening to the future podcast that we'll put out, you won't see this visually. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, everybody. So you're going to get the release of this as a premiere video for this interview. And we're looking at right now Kyle stepping into the world of stand-up comedy. Hey, listen, I gotta just get you to fill in that part of the story. How the heck did that happen? Did you just wake up one day and go, I think I'm gonna go stand on a stage and do something I've never done?
I'm always looking for ways to challenge myself with speaking. So in the past, I've done like an improv comedy course a couple of years ago, and I always wanted to try stand-up. And basically, my girlfriend was aware of this. So for Christmas, just gone, she bought me a stand-up comedy course, like a weekend course. Maybe she was telling me a sign. Maybe she was telling me I needed to be more
You're
funny.
too boring. You're too boring and stoic. She's telling me.
Exactly. Yeah. She was like, live it up. Find a personality, Kyle. So she sent me on that course, and this was the end result of it.
That's fantastic. Teaching moments there. By the way, that improv comedy course, maybe we can put it in the show notes if you have any recommendations. That'd be something fun that I'd like to consider myself. So what we're going to do is we wanted to give some big value today. So I'm going to put a question up on the screen. This gentleman couldn't make it on the show live, but he sent it to us. So let's just put it up. I'm going to read it, Kyle, and then I'm going to let you talk to him. So here it is.
Sounds great.
Let me read it out loud. It says, I find I have the most impact in my speaking when my emotions drive my words. The problem is I cannot always summon this emotion. Is there a way I can trick my mind to be more emotionally involved when public speaking? Is it content dependent? Or is it something I can only harness when it emerges? And this is from Ryan Bathgate. So talk to us. What would you advise him?
Fascinating question, first of all. Really, really insightful question. When it comes to showing emotion when you're speaking, the content does drive it massively. It's very hard for me to get emotional if I was delivering a presentation about fridges, because I just don't have.
Hey, hold on. I'm in a heat wave here. All I can think about now is my fridge and the cold beer that's in there. So you did it again. Sorry, Kyle. Keep going.
You're gonna be just the fridge open, everything in.
I'm getting all excited. I mean, there was lots of emotion in that story, the way you told it.
But I don't have like a big affinity. I mean, obviously I love food and everything, but the fridge itself, I don't have a great deal of personal built-up emotions about that.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to talk instead about my dyslexia, for instance, I would find a lot more emotional depth, because I've had lots of ups and downs with my dyslexia, times where I've hated myself because I had dyslexia, and then other times more recently where I've seen the positives of being a dyslexic. So there's a lot more emotional, what's the word I'm looking for here? I've been on more of an emotional journey with my dyslexia than my fridge, is what I'm saying.
Good to know.
So the content certainly does drive it. And I also think it's a case of actually, and it sounds a bit strange to say this, practicing the emotions. Because yes, we have sometimes these moments when we're standing up and speaking where the emotions just surge and it all comes out really naturally. But as Ryan has found, that's not consistent. You can't count on that happening every time you stand up and speak. And this is why practice needs to come in. You need to practice delivering those key emotions that you're aiming for, whether it be joy and enthusiasm or sadness. You've got to practice how you convey that. And often when you use the body language and the vocal patterns which do portray that, the actual emotions get triggered inside you, because your physiology is changing your psychology, and that comes out when you present. So mixture of content and practice is what I would say, Tom.
Well, I got to jump in there. First of all, we honor you. We love your story, but also for being vulnerable, because everybody, I don't know if you felt it, everyone, but when Kyle was talking, he started telling his story, and it was a curveball. The dyslexia thing came through, and he said, and then I saw your vocal, they call it vocal variety, or you expressed some emotion. It wasn't easy, and then your tone changed. That had a big impact on me, because I have some experience with that. I have a good friend, and I've worked with people. And by the way, do you ever go to your fridge, try to open it from the other side with the handles not? The dyslexic side. I'm just poking at you. But I think I might have mentioned to you before, a TED speaker I know, Sue Hall, who came
Yes.
through Toastmaster. She's done some work on dyslexia, and she's on a mission to talk about people with dyslexia are learning abled. It's just that the system doesn't teach them. You guys don't see certain words with pictures. Most of the English language, you can't visualize it because the words can't be picturable. I just made that up. But that's awesome. I want to just riff more on this question with you.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your perspective on it, actually, Tom? So that's my thoughts on it. What do you think from your experience?
Yeah, awesome. Look at this, everybody. He went into stand-up comedy. Now he's trying to take over my show. look at Kyle go. I love it. Somebody who can actually let me express. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this, and because of my brain injury, I'm a little latent in my thoughts coming out. So let me just try this on. I've been spending a lot of time learning about neuroscience, brain science, because I had to go through some neuroplasticity in an advanced program to fix some things. And what I didn't realize is that we take in information visually through our senses, our five senses. So just stay with me on this one. Your eyes are basically one of those ways into the brain. Yeah. However, when I'm looking at you talking and I'm taking in everything, your body language, your emotions, and then the words, my brain can't take it in fast enough. I think the percentage is something like below 10% of actually what comes into the senses actually forms what we feel and what we see. So the 90% is actually created by our mind's eye. And what happens?
So what you're saying is we only take in a limited amount of information from the actual stimulus. Okay.
Exactly. So I'm actually, in using neuroscience, acknowledging the answer that you gave, Kyle, is that the hack here for me is Kyle did a beautiful job of telling a story. And if I can learn to tell stories that I know have universal threads, like Joseph Campbell's teaching, universal threads, all of us have some kind of thing we're ashamed of, or whether it's or where we struggle with and we don't want others to know. With me, it's I have vision impairment now, or I grew up as a child in a tough home, and so I have some quirky behaviors sometimes. When you told that story, if that comes in through my eyes, it doesn't matter to me if I'm going to see it exactly the way you do. It's going to go in and it's going to bring that thread out. And with MRI technology, they've looked at the brain, and when they've looked at people telling stories, multiple parts of the brain light up, and the part that experiences emotion, that's the hack. So I think the advice you gave is right on. And I'd say to Ryan Bathgate the same thing. Dude, make a list. And in Toastmasters, you and I have done this in a pathway, I think. Develop a package of little stories. So if I was to say to Ryan, if I'm in your shoes, to say, think about a happy time where you're on a vacation, whether you're sitting at the beach, drinking your beer, whatever. Think about something that evokes happiness, a story that evokes sadness, a story that evokes fear, and then tailor those to the audience when you're speaking. And if you do that, that's going to bring out their emotion and yours. So you and I said the same thing. I just said it through a different lens. Thoughts?
No, but you made an extra point there, Tom, of actually tailoring it to the audience, and you're right, their emotions will rub off on you. So if you look at the audience and you see like they're like listening to you intently, you will feel that, and that will make you more emotional as a result. So I think we answered that question between us very well.
We slayed it,
Ryan.
We slayed that question, Ryan Bathgate. Thank you for that. Time for another little home video. Let's go to the movies again. So stand by here. I'm gonna share another video with the audience here, Kyle. So hold on. This is this is live taping, so we get to edit all this little stuff out. So let me just stop sharing, and then share it again. Present. There we go. And share screen. Okay, we're gonna go to this one. All right, I'm gonna put it on this. I'm gonna put it on the screen and then I'll start it. So,
Okay.
you see that now? Nope, not
No.
yet. Okay, here we go. Let's just add that to the stream. There we go. Now, before I start it, there's a guy. Tell me what comes to your mind. Where are you, and what's about to happen here?
This is last year's contest.
Okay.
That's what's about to happen here. The beginning of that.
So draw
Yeah.
us a picture of the words. Where are you? Are you in a studio? Are you somewhere live? Is it in Scotland?
Oh, right. I'm in my home office.
Okay.
Basically, that's the only blank wall I have in my house. It happens to be my
Okay.
office. I've got my computer in front of me. I've got kind of two lights shining on me from either side. I'm ready to go, essentially, is what's
Okay.
happening here. And yeah, let's see what happens when we
All
press
right.
play.
Now, let me just tell you again, as we're talking, I want to share something about what that image does for me. And this is, again, what we're talking about, everybody. Kyle's teaching us about the hacks of speaking. But, Kyle, you know what that image said to me? This is where my brain went. My miniature Shih Tzu, Shadow, she was 16 years and she passed. But you know what? She lived a long life. But whenever I'm in my studio and doing things, she always used to be down on the floor beside my feet. And
Right.
sometimes I'd get annoyed because we're starting the broadcast and she's looking at my legs, so I'd be going like this. That's where that picture took me. And now I'm
Okay.
full of and now I miss her and I'm full of all these mixed emotions, but I'm thinking, like, how did that picture do that to me? And that's the magic of public speaking, everybody. So let's get this
Yeah.
video. Let's watch a minute or two of the video, and then I'm going to get you to talk about the skills in that video. Okay. So let me
Sure,
just
sure.
go back to it, make sure it's on cinema. All right. Just give me a thumbs up for the sound.
1 second. Hi, Mum. Yes, I've brushed my teeth. Look, I can't talk right now. I'm in a speech contest. Okay, bye. Contest chair. Friends, has a loved one ever got on your nerves? Well, meet my mum. Now, she cares for me. She's there for me. But when I visit her, I hear this. Kyle, iron your shirt. Kyle, eat your carrots.
Okay, we're going to pause it there because there's so much packed into that little space, man. I see a bunch of things happening with your hands. I see the phone ring, and I'm curious, was it actually ringing? And I see a story. So get us into that. Just break it down.
Well, I think firstly I need to say, Tom, you're painting a very bad picture of me. You showed a clip of me talking bad about my dad, now a clip about my mom.
Yeah, this guy's a bad dude. He's tearing his family apart. I can see your next book in my mind, The 5 Pillars of Murdering Your Parents, on screen with language.
Yeah, so this was a speech I did over a year ago now.
Yeah.
To answer your question about the phone, it wasn't, well, it was ringing, but it wasn't someone ringing it. It was a prop. But the whole idea with that opening was just to do something a bit different. You know, most people start with words, essentially, in a contest. I thought starting with a sound, especially with it being virtual, might be quite cool. So it was a way to stand out, grab attention, create that curiosity. That was the idea behind it. What I would also say is, as I watch this clip, I find it a little bit cringy, because I feel my speaking has developed since then, and it feels a little bit stilted to me personally. And I think that's a good sign. You know, if you're watching a clip of yourself from, say, 2 years ago, and you're still like really happy about how you come across, it probably means you've not progressed enough. You know, you should always be looking back and thinking, "Oh my God, what was that there?"
Let me jump in, Kyle. This is awesome. By the way, we're with Kyle Murtagh from Scotland, Aberdeen, is where he's at, and he's his platform, Confidence by Design. It's stock ticking on the screen there. Written the book 5 Pillars of Public Speaking. He has won some championships and heading towards wanting to win the world. We're watching a video here, and he's describing it. I want to just bring up my little notepad here, and I've been a good student. You can't really, if I put it closer, I wrote down just minutes ago the 5 pillars. So let me tell you what I actually see there, amateurish, and then you can just continue. I look for, so everybody, did you see the body language? So I saw you doing this one way. So I want you to talk about all these little things. The voice, dude, that's one of the things a lot of people don't know how to do, is how do you do the voice of the mom? The next one is, I thought your clarity, you enunciate and all your words come out, might have something to do with that you're not rushing, because many amateur speakers learning where I used to be is talk fast.
Yeah.
Somebody told me once that it's 130 words a minute, roughly, without transitions. But maybe you can talk about speed, and then impact, the impact piece of it. And I'm seeing you doing something that I'm thinking is impact, where like right now you're leaning in, but there's must be more stuff that you do about it. So I know I threw a lot at you, but if you can just think through those 5 pillars, give us a few things.
Absolutely. Well, the whole purpose of this opening 60 seconds for this particular speech was to establish the idea that I was frustrated about my mum. And I did that with my body language by kind of showing it, when I don't have a phone near me right now, but actually I did. When I picked my phone up, I kind of looked at it and went like, so the body language, the facial expression indicated that. Then my voice, hi, mum. Yeah. Just frustration, sarcasm. And then also, and from a structural point of view, this sets up the story because, and I'll give you a spoiler, the resolution is that my mom and I get on by the end of the speech, right? So we need to have that conflict from the very beginning so that we can have that ending. And you're right, with the clarity, it's good to keep the words not only at a relatively slow pace, but simple. I think so often we try to make our language very flowery or flamboyant or complex. We try to sound smarter than we are. And that actually disconnects us from the audience. When we keep it simple and use everyday words, we're able to connect easier. And people don't get distracted by your beautiful language, and instead they focus on the emotions that you're conveying. So those are some of the things from the 5 pillars remit.
Everybody, you can start. Thanks, Kyle. we'll come back to that because another little thing I want to talk to you about. So we're going to remove that video off the screen. By the way, the source of these videos, they're all publicly on YouTube. So those listening can't see it, go find it. But by the way, Kyle, you've got a lot of stuff on social media on YouTube. Like, dude, a whole, I would say the collective wisdom on there is what some thought leaders don't do in a lifetime of skills, little videos and things. It's pretty amazing. Let me, you're welcome. Let me throw something else out here. I was at before I do that. So going back to what we just talked about there, everybody, are you starting to get it? It's a teaching moment from Kyle that he's developed a framework of these 5 things: body language, voice, structure, clarity, impact. Are you starting to get it? If you have a framework, then as your brain embeds that in its neural nets, as you're speaking now, I'm starting to, as I practice with this in my mind, I'm starting to focus on each of those areas. It's like a roadmap, right? And I love how you put that together, the book. I want to talk to you about an experience I had just last night. I was listening to a speech at another Toastmaster club, and the lady who gave the speech is a good speaker. And so the evaluator gave evaluation. And I want you to get your opinion in a minute. Let me get the 2-part question out. About when we receive somebody's feedback on our speech, there is a way to deliver feedback so it's not personalized. And there's also this sometimes icky feeling we get when we get the feedback. When I did practice for my TED Talk, Kyle, I had so much feedback that it was really hard to receive it. And so it's a skill in itself. So we'll talk about giving and receiving feedback. The second piece is she gave the speech and the evaluator said something to the effect, it was lots of goods, but I don't know you yet, but sometimes I think it feels like you're reading and I'm not sure if it's the real you. So let me tie a bow on that question. This one is about finding your authentic self. I struggle with this, Kyle, because when I was rehearsing for my TED Talk, I've told this story on my other show. I've spoken all my life in business, but I never had the kind of training. And I'm following you because I'm not there yet as you are. What am I trying to tell you is I had a coach and she said, "You're boring and stoic." Now there was more to it. And I thanked her because I said,
my girlfriend.
yeah. And I said, "This is the first time somebody's broken me that way. And I needed to hear it." But what I was doing all my life because of my insecurity and not liking what I see in the mirror and all, and this comes back from some of the things I dealt with as a kid, was trying to be, my brain was trying to look like somebody else, be somebody else. So here's where the confusion is. I got frustrated listening to some of that feedback because I'm like, well, wait a minute, is that fair? Because this person was doing storytelling and they were depicting a character. So when you step into a story, of course you're going to sound like mom. But how do you find that line of when people say, you know what, you're not performing, you're connecting, you're being real, you're being authentic.
Yeah.
How do you teach that? So I think what I'll do here to help you out is we'll start with the first piece of it.
Feedback question?
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of that first part about giving the feedback, and then I'll move on to receiving it. When you're giving feedback, and this is really hard, but it's so critical that you try. You have to try not to project your own speaking style onto someone else. Because you have to understand that they are their own person. They have their own style, their own way of doing things. And your job is not to make them like you. Yet, I've been to a lot of Toastmaster clubs like you as well, Tom. And this is what most evaluators tend to do. And it's because that's all they know. They only know things from their own perspective. And it actually takes quite a lot of effort to kind of step out of yourself and view things objectively instead of subjectively. So it's a very, very hard thing to do, but you have to try. Because your job is not to make someone like you, it's to make them the best version of themselves.
That's beautiful.
Your job as an evaluator.
That's beautiful. So the one thing I want to say about that is just I love you in that exact point. Everybody teaching moment from Kyle. That piggybacks brilliantly on what I was saying about my newest learning about neuroscience. Because it's true, Kyle, and this is, I think you and I can spend more time on this to teach it. What Kyle just told me is don't project on somebody else what your speaking style is. But that's how our brain operates. When I hear Kyle, it goes in, and then what comes out is actually what I want to see because that's what I'm comfortable with. Amazing. Let's flip over to the next part of the question. My brain lost it, but you probably still have it.
Receiving feedback. I think receiving feedback. You mentioned, Tom, for your TED Talk, that you got lots of feedback and it was perhaps a little bit overwhelming. And did you not know which feedback to listen to, which feedback to discard?
Confusing, man. So much.
Yeah. And your kind of compass when you're getting lots of feedback coming your way is who you are as a speaker. So if you know who you are and what you want to portray, then you can cherry pick the feedback that aligns with that vision that you have for your speaking and for you, what you want it to be and what will aid your message. And that's the other part of it as well. Who you are, but also what will help project your message more powerfully. You know?
Oh, that's brilliant. And so I'm just going to play back something on that what we've heard from Kyle is, pick the feedback and, everybody's feedback is going to be different, of course. One of the things I learned, Kyle, from TED is I had so much feedback. They actually told us in the coaching team, because there was multiple coaches who would listen to us, that it's going to be overwhelming. However, I learned in the corporate sector when I was in business as a CEO, I had to run a company where they brought out, you might be interested in hearing about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe not. You'll go to the fridge in a minute and I'll have to get you. That's my dark humor. And they say I laugh at things that I aren't supposed to laugh at. So, and then I say things and people laugh later and I'm just having a party in my head. So, but back to that, there's a book called The Oz Principle, and it's all about giving and receiving feedback based on the Wizard of Oz. And we implemented it across this major company internationally. And most people in the business unit I was in my teams didn't know how to give and receive feedback. And so here's the one thing I was left with, Kyle. Feedback is a gift. It's not that you agree with it, but it's whether you receive it and reflect on it. And
Yes.
that's what matters. So I always say to people when you're on screen getting feedback, first of all, find your happy face. Don't say anything. Smile. Put yourself in a
Smile and wave. Smile and
and
wave.
instead of deflect, all you do in your mind, all you do after is say thank you for your feedback, Kyle. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I
I
think
think
that's
if I can add something
yeah,
to that, Tom, when you're definitely have that feedback phase face on, but also be open-minded to the feedback that comes your way. Because
exactly.
it's very easy to have a visceral, emotional reaction to it. Oh, she's wrong. Oh, he's talking crap. But it's better to actually take a step back and consider it.
Yeah,
You don't have to do
exactly.
it, but just consider it. Play it out in your head. Okay, what would that look like if I actually implemented it into my speech? And then you can decide
Yeah.
whether it's for you or not from there. Uh-huh.
And I think what we heard Kyle say a minute ago, I believe, is that it's how you deliver the feedback. So, everyone, if you are doing public speaking or learning business speaking in a Toastmaster type program, please do the training to learn how to give feedback because Kyle's learned that. So there's
Mm-hmm.
different things you have to look at: structure of speech, you have to look at delivery of speech, you have to look at language. And if you don't know how to do it, you can really do some damage with feedback that could upset or hurt your speaker. Let's just let you know that you got a happy face here from Donna J. Setterland. She's one of your fans in California. So
Oh,
I uh,
good. Good.
I appreciate that. Let's just go to the other side of that question, and then we'll go
Yeah.
back to the video. Everybody got a video coming up, so stay with us. That is the piece about this fine line about, are you acting or are you being the real you?
Mm.
I want to preface it with this. Robin Williams, my idol, one of my idols. Why is it that people, by the way, Kyle, who are my idols, they they tend to die too soon? The other one I have is Anthony Bourdain, if you know the name, the famous food. I'm a foodie. My gosh, we lost Robin too early. But anyway, I work in the various sectors here in Vancouver. One of my passions is mental health, lifting the stigma. Another one is I believe that everybody who is on the street, homeless or marginalized, has behind that some type of a maltreatment story leading to mental illness that causes them not to be able to function in life. Robin would have in his contracts for his movies that they had to hire people from the homeless community to work on his sets. That's just
Wow.
the guys. And so this is real. I was doing a talk at a place called the Lookout Health and Housing Society, and it was a talk to a room about 30 managers, and they provide beds for homeless people, the addiction recovery programs.
Mhm.
And one of the guys, I was talking about Robin Williams, and one of the guys stood up and he says, I got to tell you this. Robin Williams was in town, and we have one of the constituents who deals with Lookout, and she told us that when he was filming his movie, he went and sat beside her on the street for an hour and just talked to her. That
Wow.
was amazing. So where am I going with this? You're probably thinking, where's he going with this? It's the way my brain is going scrambled. My point I'm trying to get to is Robin, when I watch him, the replays on TV, when he went on the Tonight Show or when he went on all these shows on stage, he lights it up the minute he walks in. He goes into his characters, his thing. But that moment where he's sitting on the street with this other person, that's who he really is. So
Yes.
one of the things I get really frustrated about is when people try to tell me, and that's the feedback I had, you're trying to be somebody you're not. Well, where's the line? I mean, I can't do my stories and be this character. So please help us with that. Give us advice. This
Yeah.
is so
Oh,
important.
I love this question, Tom, and I want to attack it from so many different
Okay, attack away.
angles because I'm with you. I'm with you. People don't understand. They want you to be yourself when you're up there, and what you'll get for feedback. I get this a lot because I'm very animated and high energy, and people say, just talk to me, Kyle. Just have a conversation with me. But if I did that, I promise you would not be listening to my speech. You would not be listening to it. You would not be as engaged with it at all. Now, of course, there's a point where you can be over dramatic and too much, and you sort of break and ruin the message as a result. But there's actually a good point beneath that where you are just being yourself to the 10th degree. You're yourself on 10. When I'm tired at night, Tom, and I'm hanging out with my girlfriend or with my family or whatever I may be, maybe I'm a 5 out of 10 in terms of energy, because that's what the the situation requires.
Yeah.
But when I'm in front of a room of 100 people and I've got to hold all of their attention, I've got to bring that up to 10 because they deserve the absolute best from me. So to go back to your little story there, when Robin Williams went on stage, he was 10. He was him at his absolute maximum in terms of energy, effort, everything. And then when he was talking with that woman on the street, maybe he dropped down to, 5 or 3 or something like this. So I think it's about a scale, Tom. And when we're on stage, we've got to be bigger than we are in a one-to-one conversation. And people just don't quite grasp that entirely from an engagement standpoint. And that's why we have this conflict about you're not being authentic. When you actually are, you're just being your best self on stage.
Thank you so much. And that actually is very helpful. I want to riff on that a little bit more before we pull that video back up. Everybody, if you are on the feeds, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, we got another maybe 8 minutes before we're going to wrap up today. Please post another question in the chat function, and we'll see it on screen, and we'll be able to try to answer that question from our guest today.
Can I add another point to that as well, Tom?
Yeah, please.
Okay? So another thing which can also be happening when you call someone not being themselves, unauthentic, is you might have caught them mid-journey, right? Not all of us like who we are. Some of us are working on changing who we are because we believe we're capable of more, that we can accomplish more, that we can be more. And therefore, we're making changes in our life. So then when we deliver a presentation, maybe we've not quite fully cemented ourselves into that new person. So there's a little bit of a transition phase going on. I did not like being that shy, timid young man. I've had to work hard to change myself. And when I was in that process of that transformation, I wasn't doing Toastmasters, and people would tell me all the time, you're not being authentic, But I was in the process of making that change. So that could be another thing that's happening. And for those of us who are called unauthentic, when we're just trying to find our voice and find our style up there.
Wow. I mean, there's explosion in my head because this one question, Kyle, I think there's a whole book that can be written on this. Here's stuff that came to my head. Is it okay if we just keep talking a bit about this one?
Yeah, keep going. I like this topic,
There's so much built into this question, everybody, and it's why learning from people like Kyle about how to speak effectively could help you transform your life. That when I started working on myself, you uncover all these limiting beliefs. You uncover what I call maltreatment in neuroscience. Is if you went through maltreatment, so for example, it could be very light, like when you're a kid, somebody called you retarded, they were joking, or not smart. And I know when you're dealing with dyslexia, there may have been unpleasant comments to you. For me, it was things like, you're stupid. And, color of my skin was a little bit, I was picked on and put in a different class. Those things wire into the brain up to age 25 as truth, and they play unconsciously. So here's the thing. I went through a good part of my life speaking as a business person and now professionally. And so what I was seeing on the outside was an audience that thought I was stupid, an audience that thought I wasn't good enough. Okay, so that was what my brain was telling me. Even if you were laughing at my talk, I was trying to wash it away, saying, no, it's not real. That's really powerful because that made me try to be somebody who I wasn't. It made me try to come up with this avatar. So I'll just finish this with my coaching experience. My coach for TED, it's funny, when she first met me, she said, I want to just sit with you and follow and listen to you for 6 months. We'll do Zooms. I want to hear who this man is. I want to hear about this guy. And so that's what just came to my mind with what you're teaching here. How does somebody know if they're seeing Kyle today for the first time? How do people know who you really are if you're having a cup of coffee with them? They don't. So so let's just really understand this here. In order for you to give feedback about a speaker, I believe, and say, you're not really being authentic, or it's like, how do you know? Get to know this person, do some research, see some of the things they've done. And yes, when you get Tom Dutta around a table for a cup of coffee, you're going to get a very different kind of person than you get when I'm doing public speaking. So here's how, Kyle, here's how I solve this, and I want you to just comment on this, what you think. It was a fluke. I had my practice for my TED Talk. I did it to some students, and I had my friend videotape it, and I sent it to my coach, and she called me back. She said, Tom, she said, go watch the tape. Who was that guy? I said, what are you talking about? I was him. She said, no. Well, what happened, Kyle, is my friend turn the tape on 3 minutes early. She said, go back and watch Tom talking to those students. She said, I've never seen that guy. When I watch it back, Kyle, it was me being me. Like when I'm goofy with you and stuff, it was me being that. And
Yes.
so it blew my mind because I went, holy shit. I can take that and then I can work and practice and weave it
Yeah.
in to the
Yeah.
other. So what do you think of that, and how important is practice as well?
Yeah. I mean, one of the hardest things to be is yourself on stage. There's no doubt about it. And when it sounds like, Tom, that you, because of the magnitude of doing a TED talk, it sounds like you were trying to be more serious than you actually were.
Exactly.
Perhaps like trying to project an image of authority when that's actually not you. And then, of course, if that is the case, you have to revert back to who you actually are. Who is this fun, cool guy, very inspiring guy who's been through a hell of a lot of stuff, and that's made you the person you are today. And
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic strategy to sort of tape yourself when you're having just normal conversations, or just before the presentation, and see if there's a difference when you actually start speaking. I will go back to the point we made before, though. It's got to be you on 10. Yes, we want that fun,
Yeah.
that version of yourself, Tom, but we want it on 10, high
Yes,
energy, giving it everything
exactly.
you've got, not being lazy and laid back. No, give the audience everything you have because they deserve that.
I love it. Thank you for that. We'll go back to the video now. That last point there was really good because I am monotone and boring stoic. If you put in a piece of me, that's how people would look at it. But I've learned now with vocal variety and all the things you're teaching about in your 5 points. Here it is again, everybody. Kyle's top 5 principles: body language, voice, structure, clarity, impact. I've learned through practice and public speaking techniques. I've learned to actually put that into my conversation. Right now, for example, Kyle, when I was going like body language, voice, those 5 fingers, I would never do that with my hands. That's simply learning technique. And everybody,
Yeah.
Kyle will tell you, but I get to try to be like Kyle today. And I so honor this because I really look up to you, Kyle. You know a lot about speaking, a lot more than I do. Everybody, when I say there's 5 pillars, and then I start doing this, pillar 1, what that's doing is it's emphasizing the structure of the speech. It's reminding us he's got 5 points and it's bringing back, it's organizing it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I might feel this guy's going on and on. When will it ever end? All right,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's get that video back up here and watch another couple minutes. Have you talked about it, and then we'll go to wrap up here. So hold on.
Okay.
All right. Again, the call.
It's not quite on screen yet, but I'm sure
Yep.
it will be soon, everyone.
Sure. So just keep us happy. Talk to us about anything for a minute while I find this.
I think that was another great point you made about the gestures there, Tom. And you said I wouldn't have done that before. And I
Yeah.
think what learning these skills does is it helps you realize that you're capable of doing different things, of communicating in different ways. And it's not necessarily changing you into being someone else and not being your natural personality. It's just allowing you to express your personality more clearly. That's what these skills allow you to do. And that's why it's so important to learn them, in my humble opinion.
Okay. There he is again, everyone. This is a video. So we're going to play it for, I promise you we'll do 2 minutes max. Have you talk a few minutes and tell us what's going on there. So here we go.
Okay.
Just going to start that up here.
Kyle, time for bed. Want me to tuck you in? I'm almost 30. I've not been tucked in since 2019. I've had enough. I'm an adult. I need space. So, when Mum calls, I ignore her. When Mum wants me to visit, I avoid her. In fact, I do everything I can to push her away. Ever pushed away someone you love? For 2 months, there's complete silence. Then something happens that changes how I see Mum. You could say it gave me a change of heart. I'm in the park with my best friend who I've loved for years. Orla! You must be thinking, Kyle, your best friend's a dog?
All right, I gotta come back. Tell us about that, what we just watched there.
Yeah, it was me continuing the idea that my mum was frustrating me a lot, and it was a true story about how I actually did push her away. You know, I began avoiding her because she was nagging me the whole time, and I did my best with the skills I had in that moment a year ago to convey that with my voice, my body language, and I think there was a change of feeling there.
Yeah.
I do think, and I'm being, evaluation of myself, there was a wee bit of a barrier potentially emotionally for me. This is something I've been working on a lot myself, Tom, just
Yeah.
really conveying the sadder emotions more when I speak with my expression. So I think I could do a lot better job now, but that's essentially what I was trying to convey. And then, of course, speaking about my best friend, Orla, I love her to bits. So adds a wee bit of humor to the speech in this particular case as well.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, well, everybody, again, that video, we'll put it in the notes. You can find it online. We love that video. I've seen it so many times. I want to just say the comment about the expressing emotion, back to Ryan's comment. Sometimes people struggle with, they're not emotive, and there's personality types. And the other thing I want to say to that, if you're out there and you're blocking sharing emotion because there's some kind of unreleased trauma, then it's better not to try to fake it. And I'll just finish with this and give it to you to comment. I can't cry. It's just something it comes from the armor I've worn since I was a kid. I cried enough as a kid through my childhood. And so I used to do talks, and then I remember getting a call from somebody who saw it and said, "What goes on in your head when you're trying to do that?" And I said, "What?" Well, when you're like, I would say, I almost welled up. I'm not trying to fake it. And what I decided is I'm not going to fake it anymore. I'm going to actually use that and share something big with the audience. So here's what I do now. I said, I would go, just so you know, I'm still working on it. I can't cry. I'd have to have an onion here if I really wanted to cry, but I got to dig deeper into that. So the question I want to know is, do you fake it? Or if you just can't express that, what do you do?
Yeah, don't fake it. Do not fake it. That's going to create a massive disconnect between you and the audience. If you pretend that your voice is breaking or that you're welling up, it's just not going to work. Instead, I like what you did, Tom. You embraced the fact that you're not an emotive person. That you said, look, even to this day, I still find it really hard to cry. So you can take that more honest approach. And I would use, if you struggle with showing the emotion, I would think about describing it more with your words.
Yeah.
Like how did it actually make you, it's always better to show than tell. I will say that first of all. But if you really find it hard to show, if it's something very difficult for you to show, telling me can be also very powerful.
Yeah.
If you tell me that it felt like your life was getting sucked into a black hole.
Yeah.
That imagery can be powerful in helping me understand where you felt you were in that moment in your life. So that is something potentially you can work on. And what I will also say, when it comes to talking about emotional stuff, don't talk about it unless you're past it.
Yeah, good point.
What can actually happen talking about the other way is when people talk about something that they have not yet got over, they can get overly emotional, start crying, make the audience feel uncomfortable, and then don't even have the capability of ending their speech, right? They have to just walk off. So only talk about it when you can laugh about it, when you're past it.
I love it.
Then you're in a safe place to share that story.
I love it. And you made me think of this thought, is that back into brain science, the brain actually likes stories, but it likes stories with happy endings. So too much heaviness and whatnot, the brain can't handle it. So you lose the audience. I love that. Some people just tell stories because they want to hear that negative brain again all the time. And You're right.
Yeah. You don't
Go
want to.
past
It's
it.
not a therapy session when you're up there, man. It's not. You're not looking for counseling when you're up there speaking. You're wanting to share value of some kind. So it's something to be careful of. If you can tell like very
Yeah.
hurtful, dark stuff on stage, but if you keep bringing the audience down and down and down and down, and then you never give them any chance of getting up, you're going to kill them, essentially. You're going to kill the energy, and they're never going to want to see you again because they'll associate you with that negative feeling. But
I think there's something going on with Kyle here about murder. You heard kill again, and then I think you're going into different venues. He went stand-up comedy to try and tell something about murder. I think you're plotting. I mean, I really think that.
I think I should be locked up. A lot of people would agree.
How to murder people with your words. That could have a really good idea behind it.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I want to wrap up now and give you the last word, but I want to honor you. I write these words down. Let's see if I can get my other camera on. I've got a little pad here in my studio. And so these are words that just come to mind, leadership words. So the first one is maven. In the book Outliers, they talk about mavens. Maven is somebody when you go, I want to know something about this. Kyle comes to mind. Public speaking, education, advanced education. Number 2, champion. You're a champion, man. In so many ways, your champion is not just about the titles. Number 3 is inspiring. And you just know the fact that I can spend an hour with you, or people are listening to this. You inspire so many people every time you get behind the mic. And number 4 is I'm going to give you today curious, because that thing you did, curiosity is a mental health hack. I understand you also do marathons and you've had some interesting experience there, but be curious. If you want to learn how to be childlike curious and grow, connect with Kyle. So Kyle, tell us where people can get a hold of you and all your stuff, your book. Hold it up again there, the book.
Yeah. Here's what the book looks like. In terms of the book, it's available on Amazon. If you're in Canada, that'll be amazon.ca, I think.
Yeah.
And for everyone else, amazon.com, amazon.co.uk. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you just type in my name, Kyle Murtagh, which is in the box. Oh, got it here, down there. You'll be able to connect with me on there. I'm always sharing little public speaking tips via videos that you might find useful. So do connect with me. You can also check out my website at confidencebydesign.co.uk. I believe it's getting shown
right there
at the bottom of the screen there. You can go on there, see my different services. If you've got an organization with a team and you want them to be presenting in a more compelling way, whether that be for internal presentations or external ones to clients, I can certainly help a lot with that, and one-to-one coaching for big speaking events as well, or a TED Talk or a big workshop or a keynote that means a lot to you. I can help with that. But Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure spending the last hour with you, talking all things public speaking. And you've said all of those words for me, but I would use them right back at you, my friend, because you inspire me too. I think your curiosity is fantastic, and that you are a champion. The adversity you have been through and where you are now, you are a champion, my friend.
You are a good man. I appreciate that. I receive that. So thank you so much. So everybody, find that true passion, like you hear, you see, it flows out of Kyle. Find the purpose behind what you're trying to do with your communication skills, and live the life that you deserve and desire. Kyle, we'll have you back again. There's more we got to talk about.
Part three. It's going to be epic.
Exactly. Awesome.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca